I'm sure many of you have already heard of Ermes Gasparini, and that's for a good reason. In the last few years, the Italian Gladiator has gone toe-to-toe with the strongest of the sport and built a super match record that rivals almost anyone on the planet. Ermes is a puller who, at his peak, looks utterly unstoppable. With arm and hand strength that rank among the greatest ever recorded, Gasparini has forced the world of arm wrestling to ask, is he the man who could one day become the number one? Today we'll dive deep into his story, his wins, his devastating losses, his redemption arcs, and ultimately, the analysis of his strengths and weaknesses that define whether Ermes can achieve his lifelong dream. Born in Verona, Italy, Ermes Gasparini was destined for the table. His father, Massimo Gasparini, a 14-time national champion, laid the foundation for Ermes' path. In September 2013, he took the WAF World Championship in the youth men's 85 kg division. Just 2 months later, he shocked the world again by taking second at his Gladiator, behind only Evgeny Prudnik. And that was all at just 20 years old. Ermes wasn't just competing with the best, he was already threatening to surpass them. From 2015 to 2017, Ermes fought with legends like Krasimir Kostaninov, Dmitry Trubin, and Michael Todd, matching or even surpassing their power. Pound for pound, he was unmatched. But that wasn't enough. Ermes didn't want to be the best for his size. He wanted to stand among the giants, to clash with the absolute strongest in the world, to become the best. And so, he began to bulk up, transforming himself into a true heavyweight. And on August 15, 2019, Ermes would make his debut on the biggest stage in North America, WAL. Facing Ermes that day was Matt, the Wild Horse, Mask, a WAL legend with more than 30 victories. Feared for his raw explosiveness and a long leverage top row, the stage was set for a storm. Round 1, Ermes blasted through Matt and finished with a flash pin, a statement victory to open the match. But then, the tides would turn. In round 2, Mask rose higher on the setup, using his length and leverage. And off the go, he immediately cracked Ermes' wrist. And without his wrist, Ermes was helpless against the drive. 1 round each. Now round 3 was the turning point. They slipped, went to the straps, and Ermes tried posting high, desperately fighting for the leverage. But off the go when going back, Ermes dumped his riser and wrist, just ever so slightly, which lost him his connection. He then elbow fouled to escape the bad position, but he forgot that WAL used running fouls, meaning that the match continued, and with that, Mask surged to the win. 2-1 Mask. By round 4, Mask had the strategy. He again climbed up as high as possible, cracked Ermes' hand off the go, drove to the pad, and closed the match. The final result, 3-1. For Ermes, it was a crushing loss. He had already beaten men far stronger than Matt on paper, but stylistically, the Wild Horse was his kryptonite. Yet, that defeat planted the seed for Ermes' eventual rebirth. In the next years, Ermes would start building himself into something new, working profusely on getting even stronger and gaining 50 pounds in the process. Fast forward to June 2021, at East vs West 1, 2 years after that defeat, Ermes returned to face Mad Mask again, much bigger and with one mission in mind, revenge. Round 1, Mask fouled twice, giving Ermes the early lead. Round 2, in the straps, Matt tried his same signature low hand top roll that worked the last time. But that day, Ermes' back pressure held strong. He rose, dragged back, cracked Mask's wrist and pinned him clean. Round 3, Mask fought back, exploding with ferocity to bring it to 2-1. But by round 4, the new Ermes showed his full power, posting high again, containing perfectly, and blasting Matt to the pin pad. With that, Ermes secured a dominant 4-1 victory, avenging his loss and proving that he had evolved. And with this, the Gladiator continued on to bigger challenges. And his next challenger would be the giant Alex Kurdecza, a Polish athlete with an enormous frame and devastating pure strength. Also another athlete with a very long forearm. They would meet each other on November 21st, 2021, at PAL top 8. So here's how the match went. In the first round both athletes would get an even slip, and then in the straps, Ermes pulls back well, puts pressure into Alex's fingers. However, Alex keeps his pronator and his wrist does not crack. He attacks and cracks the wrist of Ermes. It's 1-0 Alex. Second round, even slip again. In the straps, Ermes again drives back, but Alex goes over the top of Ermes' arm, cracks the wrist and pins. 2-0 Alex. Third round, Ermes slips on his defensive side, and in straps the same story continues. The back pressure holds for Ermes, but not the wrist. 3-0 Alex. Fourth round, slip. In straps, Ermes cannot keep the wrist, gets pinned. In the fifth round, Alex almost flash pins Ermes, but Ermes stops it and they go into a hook. However, Alex then rolls out and finishes the round. In the sixth round, slip, wrist cracked, and that's it. 6-0 for Alex Kurdecha. Another painful loss for the Gladiator. After he managed to redeem himself against Mad Masks, it's brutal. And it's also the first time we start to see a pattern, and it's that Ermes seems to struggle against long-arm top rollers. But it'll be a long time before we witness such a weakness again, because Ermes would do everything in his power to get even better. He would meet his next opponent at King of the Table 2 on December 11th, 2021, and the man he would meet would be the Georgian general, Genadi Kvikvinia. Genadi is a legend of the armwrestling world, a long-time WAF competitor known for his insane mental strength and will not to lose, and also being the true last person to beat Levan. First round, off the go, Ermes immediately cracks Genadi's wrist, puts him on his bicep, and he starts surging to get deep in. Now it takes a few surges, but Ermes eventually gets it. Second round again, Ermes compromises the wrist of Genadi and starts driving to the finish. Genadi does everything in his power to hold the drives.
Press to the side, surely we'll finish from there. Huge ask for Genadi Kvikvinia to pull this match back from there.
If he holds on to it, he's got a shot. But Ermes can't transition to that press. He needs to watch his elbow. I like it.
However, Ermes then transitions to a press, and the second round is his as well. Third round, Genadi's wrist gets cracked again, but this time he is able to maintain his pronation better. Ermes drives, Genadi then responds.
That's better. That's better. That's better. Now transition. That's
Ermes then presses, and it's now 3-0. Round 4 was pure chaos. Ermes cracked the wrist once more, drove forward, but fouled off the back of the pad. On the restart, he surged so hard that the referee actually called a pin that wasn't even there, which forced them to reset yet again. Genadi, wrist completely gone, kept pulling on pure pronation and side pressure, trying to survive, trying to somehow match the power. Ermes stayed calm, switched to a press, and once again drove to the pad, clean 4-0. A impressive showing against a legend of this sport. Now Genadi managed to take the last 2 rounds because at King of the Table the athletes have to pull for all 6 rounds, but it's possibly due to Ermes easing up because of an injury. Still, with this result, he could start climbing the ladder of the top pullers, the mountain of arm wrestling. And he would make his next step on February 12th, 2022. His next opponent would be the reigning super heavyweight WAF arm wrestling champion from Turkey, Arif Ertem. From the start, both athletes show incredible energy. Out of the straps, Arif gets on the offensive, then Ermes counters and both athletes slip. In the straps, Arif drives again, gets on the winning side, but immediately loses the wrist due to Ermes' massive back pressure. Ermes gains hand control, puts fierce aggressive drives to the side and gets the first round. Second round, a slip again, and in straps, Ermes immediately cracks Ertem's wrist, stretches his arm open and wins the second round as well. In the third round, Arif does everything he can to win without these straps. He holds on to Ermes' fingers, wants to press down but is unable to, then he reverses out to a king's move, and Ermes slips under. In straps, Arif tries flopping, but the back pressure from Ermes is enough to completely overwhelm Arif's drive, and it's 3-0. And another very dominant win for the Gladiator. Just 2 months later, on April 2nd, 2022, at King of the Table 3, Ermes would try his left arm against the Brazilian legend, the Jacked Jesus, Wagner Bortolato. Bortolato has been in the armwrestling scene for a long time, and he's famously known for his insane explosivity and antics. Now in the first 2 rounds, Ermes would immediately control the hand, and these rounds would go to him. But in the 3rd round, he would get surprised by Wagner's press. But then he would lock in and seal the match.
And Wagner gets inside.
4-1 for Ermes. By late 2022, Ermes had momentum. And his next opponent would be easy money Dave Chaffee, a puller known for producing an enormous amount of force. He was the biggest test for Ermes up to that day, and a dominant win over him would earn Ermes the biggest prize of all. A shot at the peak of modern arm wrestling, Levan Saginashvili. Dave has pinned almost every elite puller on the planet, and is most dangerous in the first 2 rounds. With that in mind, let's see how the first round went. Ready go, and Dave explodes to the side, but loses the hand in the process. Ermes holds Dave on the B side and then starts countering, putting in incredible drives and stretching out Dave's hand. Dave switches to the press, and it's an elbow foul for Ermes. On the restart, Ermes gets the wrist. Dave keeps pushing to the side, but Ermes holds it comfortably.
Wrist has that wrist, but side pressure game has been won by Dave Chaffee. He comes close. And now good center hold, good center position, good center position. Wrist is getting totally stretched out. Ermes Gasparini.
Then counters again, drives to the side and switches to a press. It's a dominant win for Ermes in the first round. Statement made. Second round, Dave pushes again, but Ermes contains even better than last time. Puts enormous back pressure into Dave's fingers, and then counters, presses down. 2-0 Ermes. Third round, the match gets stopped in the center. Dave slowly tries going to the side, slowly pushing, keeping his position, but Ermes holds it. Presses down. However, Dave fouls before the pin. So they go again, it's a restart. Dave again starts pushing to the side, going slowly, trying to keep his position, not lose his fundamentals. But Ermes holds it beautifully, and then counters again, switches to a press, and it's a 3-0, an absolutely amazing, dominant win for the Italian Gladiator.
Wow!
On that day, Ermes delivered one of the best performances of his career. In 3 straight rounds, overwhelmed Dave and earned himself the match against the one, the only, the Georgian Hulk, Levan Saginashvili, the #1 in the world. At least on the right arm, because he also had a match on the left against Artem Morozov for the left arm world heavyweight title, and he lost that match pretty badly, 3-0 for Morozov. But his left arm wasn't a prime focus at the time. So back to the right. No one had managed to stop Levan since 2017. Many had tried, all had failed, and Ermes would have to show up at his absolute best, peak form, because just stopping Levan is an absolutely monumental task. But that's exactly what Ermes would do. Round 1, they slip evenly, already shocking the crowd. In straps, Levan drives sideways, and his first drive gets stopped directly above the pin pad. Levan then puts in a second surge and finishes the round. But the fact that Ermes stopped him for even a moment is seen as a miracle. Round 2, Levan surges again. Ermes holds, inches from the pad, before Levan recollects, stares into Ermes' eyes and slams him down. At this point, all hope seems lost. Levan seems to have taken control, and there is nothing that Ermes can do. And that's why what happened next was absolutely unbelievable.
Ermes flopping down as much as he could. And almost buckles it down. Gets position, defends. Levan stands up. Ermes is still defending. We are in the match! He's going for the press! He's going for the press! He got almost...
Levan drives, and Ermes stops him. So again, Levan surges, but this time, Ermes stops it again. Surge after surge, the Georgian Hulk is stuck, unable to finish. Ermes transitions into a dead wrist press as a last-ditch effort, trying to get the shoulder behind him, dragging Levan into a stalemate. refusing to quit even if in a horrible position. The crowd erupts. For the first time, the unmovable monster looks vulnerable. Then it's an elbow foul on Ermes.
Number 3.
Ready, bang! And the hit has happened, and another stop.
And it's Ermes press.
On the restart, Ermes stops it again, and again tries getting his shoulder behind his arm. Keeps surging, keeps moving Levan's arm back and forth. And this time, Levan gets an elbow foul.
Oh my God!
Second
There's a second
elbow.
elbow foul for Levan.
Another restart occurs. Still the third round. Both athletes on 2 fouls. Ready, go, and Levan finally secures a clean pin. Very relieved to take the round. Round 4. Levan regains control and takes it clean. The match is his, but the story isn't finished yet. King of the Table requires to pull all 6 rounds.
And the wrist falls.
Wrist goes. The drive is happening.
Round 5. Once again, Ermes stops the drive. He digs deeper, trying his best to get into the press. And this time it's Levan who fouls twice.
Blocking the position for the press. Giving his all. Giving his all. All Levan needs to do, just wait out. Stretch the bicep out. Get the pronator.
Oh, the transition trying to come in there.
Oh,
He's
yeah!
got the hit.
Oh!
What? Go. Round number 5 in your main event. Bang! And he stopped him once again. His knuckles have held on for dear life, and he's trying to get that shoulder across. Here we go. The rock is happening. He's rocking him back and forth. Here we go. It's happening now. Can he drive in and get a pin? Coach Ray, check this in.
Oh my God, we are in for a match. There's a good chance Ermes will survive this and pin him. As soon as Levan stands up, another elbow foul.
Both men collapse from exhaustion. But Levan is worse. He needs oxygen and cannot continue the match. So he forfeits. The final score is 4-2, with Levan taking the win, but Ermes taking something even greater. Proof that Levan can be stopped. It was an absolutely astonishing performance, one that no one else had ever achieved. And for the first time since 2017, the Georgian Hulk looked human. And it was Ermes Gasparini who forced him there. Levan Saginashvili would suffer an injury in May of 2023, and thus, with Levan sidelined, the vacant world title was now contested between the number 2 and number 3 in the world, Ermes and Genadi Kvikvinia, who is a king of the flop press. With surgical precision, Ermes neutralizes Genadi, gripping him low and thus making him unable to access his flop press. Off the go, first going inside, dragging Genadi out of his position, with vicious drive pinning him again and again. 3-0 sweep. Ermes Gasparini, with his dominant showing, was now the champion of the world. First time being at the top of the armwrestling mountain. In August, the title defense was against Devon Larratt, another long-levered top roller, likely the best in the world, a nightmare stylistic matchup. From the start, it was clear that Devon had a plan to take away as much from Ermes as possible in this setup. And in the first round, Ermes fouled out early, moving due to feeling very uncomfortable in the grip. But round 2 was about to go even worse. In these traps, Ermes surges with all his force, but Devon absorbs everything, rotating with his pronator and dragging the Italian into deep water. Ermes, without his full wrist integrity, has nowhere to go. He gets pressed and it's 2-0 Devon. Third round out of straps. Ermes and Devon both hold each other. Ermes puts a huge surge to the side, almost pinning Devon, but Devon then drags it back to the center and eventually they slip. In the straps, Devon denies everything in the setup from Ermes. He then explodes off the go and Ermes doesn't have anything to stop it. Ermes falls 3-0. And it's that brutal reminder, one that tells him that long arm top rollers still are his Achilles heel. And it's a hole that desperately needs to be patched. And whether he patched that hole would be shown on December 9th, 2023, because he would face the Russian giant Vitaly Laletin, standing at 6'8" with an enormous frame and the longest arms in elite arm wrestling. The storyline was clear. If Ermes could solve Vitaly, he could finally silence the criticism that he struggles against long-arm top rollers. Vitaly up to that point has been consistently improving, defeating athletes like Evgeny Prudnik, Krasimir Kostaninov, Dmitry Trubin, Tobias Porong, Revas Lutidze, and also being the only other man who managed to stop Levan for longer than 10 seconds. This would be a war of styles. The first round never truly found its rhythm, decided on fouls as Ermes tried desperately to climb high on Vitaly's arm, slipping off the front of the pad again and again. But when the real clash finally came in round 2, Vitaly hit hard to the side, only to be stopped dead by Ermes. From there, the Italian clawed back control, forcing Laletin onto defensive. Vitaly's pronator held strong for a moment.
He's trapped in position, but he could be in this position all day. I'm not kidding. There's a match where he pulled in this position for 10 minutes.
Exactly. That's what we were expecting, that wrist could lose, but he needs that pronator.
Yeah.
He needs a pronator.
But Ermes broke through, pried him palm up and crushed him to the pad. Round 3, Vitaly responded, surged sideways with raw power, blasting Ermes straight to the pad in an instant. A flash pin that showed that Vitaly was very explosive. But Ermes wasn't done. In round 4, the pattern from the second round returned. Vitaly's early surge, Ermes's really good defense, and then the counterattack. Laletin tried his best to hold the surges, but slowly his arm opened and Ermes secured another win.
Ermes need a little bit more to his side, and then he does his transition for press, and you can see the transition for press.
Round 5 pushed both men to the limit. Vitaly's side pressure drove Ermes millimeters from the feet.
So close!
But Ermes refused. He dug in, used every ounce of back pressure, and then, with a shocking transition into a press, stole the win.
Should do the transition, but it's not working for him.
By round 6, the tide was clear. Ermes stopped Vitaly dead in the center and immediately went for a flop press, finishing the match and sealing a hard-fought 4-2 victory.
Get it done!
Ermes showed the arm wrestling world that his so-called weakness against long-arm top rollers was not permanent. He could train it and overcome elite opponents with it. Through 2024 and 2025, Ermes continued to grow, hitting monstrous numbers in training, and he would also try to climb the left arm rankings again. On April 20th, 2024, at East vs West 12, he would face Alijan Muratov, a terrifying hook puller who is brutal once he cups his wrist. And while Ermes' left arm is very good, it simply isn't at the same level as his right. Now Ermes has always been an amazing pound-for-pound puller, and it was rare for him to face someone who would be lighter than him. And Ermes didn't believe that Alijan would have the brute force to win, since he weighed 15 kilos less than him. However, Alijan is simply built different. Round 1 they slip evenly and go to the straps. And in the straps, Ermes immediately tries to post high, climb, gets himself into a very nice position, but Muratov isn't having it. Off the go he cups in his wrist and drives with cold mechanical force. 1-0 Muratov. Round 2 out of these straps, Muratov refuses to give Ermes the chance to escape. Muratov again breaks through the elastic limit of Ermes' arm and finishes clean, 2-0. Round 3, this round turns almost personal. Muratov forces Ermes into the hook and stares him down as he methodically removes every escape Ermes has. Ermes strains, tries to somehow power through, but he comes up short, and Muratov pins 3-0. Ermes walks away from East vs West 12 with his right arm reputation intact, but with a sharp reminder. He refocuses his training and turns back to the right arm, because bigger tests are coming his way. February 15th, 2025. By now, Ermes had already faced legends and monsters on the table, but he hasn't faced the monster yet. The monster Michael Todd. Known for his almost uncrackable pronator and the infamous King's move that had carried him to dozens of supermatch wins, Todd is a nightmare opponent for anyone who needs their wrist to dominate. And Ermes, despite his world-class back pressure, is usually at his most dangerous when his hand and wrist are intact. This was a clash of styles, and everyone knew. Round 1 Michael fires first, and settles into his preferred position. The force is immense, but Ermes manages to absorb it. He doesn't panic. Instead, he begins to climb, rising above Todd's hand, searching for height inch by inch. With every surge, Ermes loses his wrist slightly, having to recollect at the center again. But he then swiftly switches into the floor press, leans in and with a brutal pressure drives through Michael's sticky point. Round 2, Todd adjusts, hitting harder to the side and keeping Ermes outside of his shoulder. It looks dangerous, but again, Ermes rises, higher and higher, until he towers over Michael's hand. He transitions once more, shoulder behind his arm, and presses Todd to the pad. 2-0. Round 3. This is where things get chaotic. Off the start, both men slip, and the strap goes on. Michael pours every ounce of force into his defensive structure. His arm locked, his pointer very strong. Ermes attacks with everything he has. He starts rising again, surging. Seconds pass, and the longer it lasts, the worse it gets for Ermes. Michael can live in this position forever.
Now we got a situation where the press is not able to finish. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Wake up, Michael Todd.
Ugly position again, and he is putting serious wear and tear onto Ermes Gasparini, who's trying to finish, can't do, and Michael again goes to that side pressure.
The mouth is open.
Nobody can do this like Michael Todd.
The Italian's mouth is open now. Hard press. We know.
And the referee calls the pin. However, Michael isn't satisfied. He argues with the refs, convinced that the call was wrong. The energy turns tense and the stage is quite heavy with drama. And upon the review, it is truly declared that no pin indeed occurred, and they restart. Todd switches gears, first threatening to press, then reversing out into his trademark King's move. Ermes then pushes into the press again, but he gets stopped millimeters above the pin pad. He tries surging again and again. Ermes keeps pushing but is unable to finish. However, before anything happens, a foul on Michael is called for shoulder under the table and Ermes is awarded the win. 3-0. The scoreboard shows a sweep, but anyone watching knows the truth that the match was very close. Todd's defensive structure nearly trapped Ermes for good in round 3, and the controversial fouls shaped the outcome as much as the pins themselves. Still, what mattered was the result. Ermes Gasparini had survived, he passed the test, and walked away with another win against one of the trickiest veterans in arm wrestling. This match again showed that even when Ermes' strengths are neutralized, he can adapt, grind, and find a way to win. But the biggest question still remained. He was almost at the top of the food chain, but everyone kept questioning, could he touch Levan again? Could he repeat or even improve upon the incredible performance from their first encounter, the match that made the giant look human for the very first time? Well, the rematch with the Georgian Hulk was set, and this time everyone was watching. Round 1, even slip. Then in the straps, Ermes hits hard off the go, searching for the same stop he once had found. But Levan rolls through immediately, taking Ermes straight to the pad. 1-0. Round 2, again an even slip. Then in the straps, Gasparini digs deep, trying to climb, trying to rise as much as possible. But Levan bulldozes anyways, unstoppable, shutting down every lane. 2-0. Round 3. This was the round where Ermes had stunned the world last time, halting Levan in his tracks. Could his story repeat itself? Out of straps, Ermes knows he has to try everything he can. He intentionally drives to the side, getting fouls in the process, in an attempt to put wear and tear into Levan's arm and hand. Once a proper ready go happens, Levan drives, but Ermes easily stops it and they get in the straps. In the straps, again Ermes does everything in his power to get the best possible position he can. Ready go, and Levan drives, and this time there is a tiny stop just above the pin pad, but it's just not enough. Fourth round, Ermes uses all of his warnings again, driving and getting fouled. They slip, and in the straps, Ermes knows that it's his last opportunity, his last chance to reverse the match. Ready go, but it's simply not enough. Levan is way too strong. In round 5, the Georgian has already won, and he slows down his pace, but still keeps control. He still easily top rolls Ermes to the pad. 5-0. And that's the end of the match. This time, there were no brags, no stops. Levan Saginashvili shut the door completely, reminding the world why he still stands as the most dominant, strongest arm wrestler alive. For Ermes, it was a bitter result. He had once shown that the mountain could be slowed, but in this rematch, Levan left no openings. Yet even in defeat, Ermes carried something forward, the knowledge that he had once pushed the giant to the brink. And that knowledge still keeps the fire alive. Because as long as Ermes is at the table, the dream of bringing Levan down isn't dead. In the future, Ermes would like to challenge Vitaly or Devon again, who are also on a climb to the top of the mountain. And it will be interesting to see which of these athletes come out on top. Now let's analyze the strengths of Ermes Gasparini. Ermes Gasparini utilizes a very strong posting top roll. His strengths are primarily in his back pressure, which is perhaps the best in the world. His ability to drag back and rise simultaneously forces opponents to hold on to him, and very often cracking their wrist. Ermes has demonstrated feats such as 92 kg back pressure for 8 reps, which is absolutely unbelievable. Next up, his riser also seems to be unmatched. Even against the longest levers, Ermes is able to climb up very high. Again, in training he has shown to have a 67 kg riser, which is more than probably anyone else in the world. Maybe Levan, but I'm not even sure if he has such numbers. Ermes has also shown that he is able to pull without his wrist. He showed that if an opponent doesn't have enough side pressure to finish, he will win. Next up, he is very good at transitioning from a top roll to a press. Once he gains hand control and gets on his winning side, he can very quickly finish with a press. And his last strength is the pound-for-pound power. At any weight, Ermes is unbelievably strong, explosive, fast, relentless. He is very close to being the perfect arm wrestler. However, he does have his weaknesses. If we can even call that weaknesses, considering he is currently the third best arm wrestler in the world. Historically, his biggest struggle has been against long arm top rollers, since his shorter lever forces him more to contain, and he doesn't manage to do that all the time. And that connects to his second weakness, and that's reliance on hand control. Without hand control, Ermes sometimes seems to struggle his options narrow down very quickly, even though we've talked about his ability to use a dead wrist press. Today, Ermes Gasparini stands among the very best. He is a gladiator in every sense, scarred from battles, driven by revenge, tested by giants, yet always returning stronger. Will he one day claim the throne? That remains to be seen. But what is certain is this: whenever Ermes Gasparini grips up, even the strongest men alive are forced into a war. And that's everything from me for today. I'm Blackbird. Thanks a lot for watching.